Now let's think about another scenario. We have a subscription, a research group, and this research group is part of West Europe. Inside this research group, we have a virtual machine, which is part of a virtual network, one in this case. And there is a network interface that's attached to this virtual network. They're both in West US location. Outside of this virtual network, but inside the same research group, we have another network interface, which is also part of West US location. The question that you are likely to get is, are we able to connect this network interface to the same virtual machine? And the question is yes, because they're all in the same, actually they're both in the same location, West US, even if the research group is part of West Europe. So bear this in mind, is quite important. You might expect to see this scenario put in a different schema. Don't get intimidated by that. In the end, it's the same situation. Just pay attention that the network interface and the VM are part of the same location like we have here. A similar situation to this one is this one. So you have two research groups, which this time they are in different locations. The first one is still in West Europe. The second one is in East US, but the network interface is still in West US. So again, don't be fooled by this, to think that if the research groups are part of different locations, that you are not able to attach the network interface. This is not true. You are able, just because they are part of the same location. Now, if the research group 2 is still in East US, but NIC 2 is in Central US, you can imagine this is not possible anymore, because all it matters is that the network interface and the virtual machine are in the same region. What I want to highlight here is that if we go back to these three scenarios, you can expect to have one question. So at the exam, you can have only one question that will regroup all these situations. And usually what I've noticed, at least what I saw for the exam, is that once you answer to one question and you go to the next one, you cannot come back to the previous one. That's a thing they like to do. Let's imagine another scenario. We have two research groups. They're both located in North Europe, and each of them has a recovery service vault, one in West Europe and the other one in North Europe. In these resource groups, we have other resources. In the first one, we have a storage account, which has a blob that I called cat and a file share that I called dog. They're located in North Europe. In RG2, we have a virtual machine, which is located in West Europe, and the database one that is located in West US. The reason for which I highlight these locations is because they are the key for the answer that we are looking for. And actually at the exam, what I want to tell you is that you're probably not gonna get this kind of schema. This is the way I chose to present the things so that they're clear and easy to understand. But you'll most probably get like a different schema or a table that contains all these resources, or any other situation that they might think about. But if you, well, this is a solution. If you decide to do drawings like this, it will be way easier for you to understand what every resources can or will be able to do. So if we go back to our question, what resources can be backed up with recovery service Vault 1, so this one, all we need to do here is to look at the location, and we see that it is located in West Europe. And if we look at all the resources that we have, we see that only VM1 is located in West Europe. And this is the answer to the question. And of course, we're going to ask ourselves the same question. What resources can be backed up with Recovery Service Vault 2? Same, we look at the location and we see that only storage account A is in North Europe. There is a tricky thing in here, which is you cannot back up blobs files. So keep this in mind, and that's the reason for which the answer is only file share in this scenario.